What is going on, guys? It's your boy Slickby, and today we're going to be doing a review. I know, it's been a while since I've done a review. My internet's out right now, so I'm going to have to go back and edit this after. Not edit it after, but put images and stuff that I want to do in after. But I figured I could do the audio portion of this. I'm going to try to keep this more structured than my normal videos. I like to go off on tangents. We're going to try to break it into a couple of different categories for you guys so I can really talk about the Chieftain and what it does well and what it doesn't do well. Now, for you that don't know, the Chieftain is what you grind for at the end of the British tank tree. It is the 8.0 MBT. It's armed with a 120mm rifled cannon that shoots APDS and HESH. The HESH rounds have 152 millimeters of effective penetration, while the APDS can go through a lot, like 380, I believe, 380 maybe. I could be completely wrong on this. APDS obviously has fantastic trajectory. The HESH does not. It has a 3-round burst, 50 cal, I believe, on the left side of the turret, which you can use to aim for your HESH. So it has the same trajectory as the HESH rounds. So that's just some stuff that some of you guys might not know. My overall opinion on this tank is I like it, but it's not as aggressive as I would like it to be. It has some drawbacks in the maneuverability and stuff. We'll get to that later. And, it's overall just a slower tank than the rest of the MBTs at this tier, which, you know me, I like to rush and stuff. So the first thing we're going to talk about is ammo. Straight out of the box, you get the best ammo types for this tank. You get the APDS and the HESH as soon as you unlock the tank, which is fantastic for you guys who, 1, can't afford Heat FS. I get a lot of comments about that. And 2, hate grinding for Heat FS if you're going to use it. Because most of the tanks at top tier, as we all know, require you to grind for the Heat FS. And while you're grinding for the Heat FS, you have to deal with the painful grind, albeit it's a lot better now that APDS is buffed, the helpful grind of going through the APDS or APCR, whatever the round that is on the stock tank is. So the APDS is my round of choice on this tank. As you're watching behind me, I just bounced off the front of a Leopard with HESH. Yeah, you don't do that with APDS. It goes through everything, like I said. APDS is a fantastic round in this tank. It has the higher velocity, and it is just overall more accurate. But that being said, if I'm playing against the Russians, I will load up full HESH. If I'm playing against the Germans and the Japanese, which is a usual lineup, I will load full APDS. There will never really be a mixture because there's hardly ever a time when I need to use a mixture unless I'm playing against one or the other faction. If I'm playing against Russia, there's never really a time I need APDS. And if I'm playing against Japan and Germany, there's never a time I need HESH. You could say, well, what if you run into a Tiger II? I APDS it through the upper front plate. What if you run into a mouse? I APDS it through the upper front plate. Well, I don't think I can go through the upper front plate of a mouse. You can go through the side, no doubt, and you can go through the turret, no doubt, with APDS. It's kind of a cakewalk with this tank. Now, I think other than that, there's nothing else really needed to be said about the ammo types. You can load a mixture, of course, but if you're going to do that, load a mixture, you have to know where your shells are going to land and have your velocity tuned down to a T. And that's my best advice to you guys. APDS is a lot better this patch than it has been, but the only way you're going to use it super effectively is if you hit ammo racks with it. So when you're aiming at enemy tanks, make sure you're aiming for ammo racks. I got this note the other day, or a comment, saying Slick only aims for ammo. He never aims for people, and it's true, because whenever I play top tier, which is my most played tier, you have to really hit ammo all the time. So when I play lower tier tanks, I still only aim for ammo. And sometimes it's the bad move. You should aim for crew most of the time so you can knock out their ability to shoot back at you. But regardless, that's not necessarily what we're going to talk about here. The next thing I'd like to talk about, which is maneuverability. This tank is not very mobile. It is, but it isn't. It's more comparable to a heavy tank than an MBT. When it's compared to a Leopard, the Leopard will run circles around it. Now, we've made this mistake in the past, and I'm going to stray away from it, is comparing vehicles on a one-to-one basis. Now, I'm saying that because the Leopard is another top-tier MBT, which is comparable stat-wise. You'd think MBTs would all fall around the same speed, maneuverability, and firepower. And what this thing gives up in maneuverability, it gains for in the stock rounds being the best rounds and the gun being a fast-firing 120mm cannon. It's not mobile. It has trouble neutral steering, up hills, just traversing the tank itself. It has trouble doing. Rolling forward, climbing hills, it all has trouble doing that. But that being said, in every position you get this tank into, it can almost always fire from. It has great gun depression, which I'm going to slide into the maneuverability category. It has great gun depression and great turret handling. It comes with a stabilizer out of the box, which is fantastic. Most top-tier MBTs do nowadays. And the turret is great. So while it takes time to get into positions and it cannot always get out of position super fast, the turret can almost always fire from whatever position you end up putting this tank into, and it can always fire effectively back at it with having a decent amount of armor. The turret on this tank is pretty good, so that's what we're going to segue into next is armor. While it's not the beefiest MBT, I would say the M60A1 is the strongest, quote-unquote, MBT armor-wise, just because of how much armor it has, necessarily not looking at weak spots, just how much armor it has. This thing can almost reliably bounce shots. Now, after the patch, Heat is kind of dealing with tanks a little bit different now. I've noticed that it's bouncing a lot more, and I bounced a lot in my play session last night. This is all from last night, the footage you're watching now. I bounced a lot of Heat FS off the side of my tracks, off the top of my turret. I was bouncing APDS, and I didn't really die too much. I think I died to a Tiger once because the lower plate on this tank is huge. And that leads into the armor thing. Hide your lower plate. While you can almost reliably, deal with your turret and keep your turret, hold down, and you can bounce stuff, never expose your lower plate. If you expose your lower plate, you will die. It is a terrible weakness that this tank has. It's a huge spot, and the ammo racks are on either side of the lower plate. So any enemy with a brain will dump a shell into your lower plate and murder you. So that's about it on the armor department. Now, this is the part where the video gets very interesting for you guys. When I'm going to be reviewing these tanks from now on, the last part of what I want to talk about is the lineup. And you may say, well, why do you want to talk about the lineup, Slick? What does the lineup have to do with the vehicle you're reviewing? It has everything to do with it. It has everything to do with how effective you're going to be. The lineup for the Britain at 8.0, for Britain at 8.0, is garbage. I'm not the only one who's going to tell you that. The Chieftain is the only tank you get. You could say, well, you get the swing fire, and I'll say, okay, swing yourself into a fire there, Jimmy, because you ain't doing shit with that tank. And somebody will say, well, I got an ace my first game in the swing fire, and I'm going to clap because you're the 1% of the community that can play that tank well. It is a terrible tank. So as a support vehicle for the Chieftain, you get the Conqueror. The Conqueror is a 7.3 tank. You get the Scent Mark 10, 7.0 tank, or you can have the Falcon or the Conway, 7.0 and a 7.7 AA. There's nothing else with you. At least for America, you get another M60. You can have an M103. You can have a Sheridan. For Russia, you get the T62, the ZSU 57-2, a T10M, an IT1. And for Germany, do I even have to say it? You get 2 Leopards. And for Japan, you get 2 Leopard clones. So this is the only nation in the game that doesn't have multiple tanks that can handle themselves at 8.0. They're absolutely awful, the selection you get. So playing the Chieftain, you have to play it very conservatively. You have to understand that you are in the only vehicle that is going to be fully fledged and capable to deal with 8.0. That's not to say that the Conqueror with the same gun or the Conway with the same gun can't kill things at this BR, but the Chieftain's meant to do it. There's a reason why the Chieftain's the 8.0 and why those tanks are felt necessary to be at 7.0. It's because the Chieftain is designed to do it. It is a perfect tank for this BR. If there were 2 Chieftains in the game, Britain would be one of the strongest nations at 8.0. They're one of the strongest nations at 7.0 because they have multiple tanks at 7.0. There's no problem with British tanks. They're fantastic. It's just the lineup right now at the top tier. So hopefully within the coming months, we'll see a Chieftain Mark V with an upgraded engine, maybe even a Chieftain Mark 11 with some Stillbrew armor. I don't know. That's what I'm hoping for. APFSDS firing capability. I'd be very excited for that. Now, I think that is all the bases I would like to cover. Let me give you some insight on how I play the Chieftain. Now, I would say this would be a part of the video, like playstyle, quote unquote, but everybody plays vehicles a little bit different, and I'm starting to notice that. You know, I play a lot more aggressive than certain people. The match you're watching right now, although I killed a lot of AA coming out of their spawn, I was way more aggressive than most Chieftain players are, and should be. I mean, Panzer IV. That could have been any tank, though, coming out of the spawn. It would have died from that shot. And that's what you have to note. Now, you can see I'm also running full APDS because of this. So, like I said, my playstyle, if I'm fighting Germany or Japan, I load full APDS. If I'm fighting Russia, I will load full HESH. With a couple APDS for Russia, just in case it's like a long-range map and stuff. That's the only thing that will really determine what I'm going to do. Playstyle, I play this tank a lot less aggressive than I play other MBTs. Me and my Leopard, we will drive as far as the game will allow us before firing at the enemy. I will get into the enemy's side as far as I can. The Chieftain doesn't allow me to do that. So it's more of a support role tank. If you have a full team of Chieftains, you're going to hold the line very well, but you're never going to push. And you just got to understand that. It's a very good hold down sniping tank. It is fantastic for sniping. The gun is great. It has a fast reload, and it has some of the fastest velocity rounds in the game straight out of the gate. So when you're using those rounds, you're going to learn how to use them, and you're going to be able to hit targets from distances you could never dream of. Now, if you've played this grind properly, you've played another tank with a 120 and another tank with a 105, and you're starting to understand how the APDS on the British line works. So that means when you get this tank, you will be a machine, a sniping machine. It'll be like you came out of the box, you got your Chieftain, and you're like, I'm back, and you're sniping people from across the map. And it'll be a beautiful sight. So that's my advice to you guys. Get this thing hulled down, put some bushes on your turret. I know, I just said put some bushes on your turret, but if you have the ability to, might as well. It'll cover up the weak spots on your turret, which there are two. The left side of the turret, I believe, if you're looking at the tank, is pretty weak. It's got a little bit less armor than the right side, and it's less sloped. It's like a weird shaped turret. So just chill in the back, snipe a little bit, get your snipe points up, and try not to die. Because if you die, you're going to have to spawn in a swing fire, which is suicide. Or you're going to have to spawn in a Falcon, which is a great AA, by the way. But that's it. It's a great AA. It's not a great ZSU 57-2 or anything like that. You can kill Leopards with it, and you can kill RU-251s, but that's about it. And that's all I really have to say about the Chieftain. It's a lovely tank. I love it. It just doesn't fit my playstyle all the time. So if I'm relaxing and I want to play some top-tier games, Danger loves this tank, and that's who we played with last night. Danger was like, hey, Slick, I'm playing the Chieftain. I said, okay, let's do it. I'm down to play some Chieftain. With the Stabilizer, it's a super fun tank. Just a word of advice for right now is I made a video on the RU-251 saying it should be at 8.0, or people should play it at 8.0. They listened to me, and they're playing it at 8.0. I noticed last night I had a guy who noticed me in-game, was in an RU, and shot me in the direct side. It came full circle and found me. I was very upset. I thought I made a mistake. I'm like, no, I'm dying to my own ways. But just keep a note out. RU-251s may be in spots that you never would imagine. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like on it. If you're going to play the Chieftain or you're getting it soon, kudos to you. I hope you play it well. I hope my internet comes back on so I can upload this video for you guys to watch. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.